This week, I will be eating off of just $12 for the entire week. This will be including breakfast, lunches, and dinners. I haven't done an extreme grocery budget challenge like this for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in quite some time. So to say that I'm nervous about this is an understatement. So what we are going to be doing today is we're heading over to Walmart. It's just the cheapest grocery store in my area. I'm going to be filling up my grocery cart with only $12 worth of groceries. And I'm going to be strategic about what I place in my cart. I really want grocery items that stretch, that are nutrient rich and high in protein. I want to be eating delicious this week. I don't want to feel like I'm eating like cardboard. These meals are going to be good according to my plan, but let's get to the store. I'm bringing you along with me, and then we're going to get back home and get to cooking this week. All right, here we are, $12 in my pocket, and it's time to see just how much I could get to feed myself for this next week. Can I make it work? Well, let's find out. First, I'm picking up this box of apple cinnamon oatmeal. There's 10 packets in it, and since it is flavored with apples and cinnamon, it's a pretty good value, so I'm throwing that in my cart. Now I'm down the baking aisle. I'm going to be picking up a 2-pound bag of all-purpose flour. I'm thinking I'm going to be using this flour for maybe some homemade bread and tortillas, but I'll see what I end up using this flour for in the end. Now I'm going down the dry bean and lentil aisle. I'm picking up a 1-pound bag of dry lentils along with a 1-pound bag of dry pinto beans. I'll also be throwing a 1-pound bag of white rice in my cart. Lentils and pinto beans are great meat substitutes. They're super affordable and they're super high in protein. I'm off to the produce area now. Just because I'm on an extreme budget doesn't mean I'm not getting produce. Potatoes stretch and they're wonderfully priced right now, so I'm picking up a 5-pound bag of potatoes. I'm also wanting some fruit this week, so I'll be picking up 3 bananas. Apples would also be wonderful this week. I'm looking at all the prices per pound for apples, and I'm deciding on these ones just because they're the least expensive per pound. I'll also be getting a yellow onion and 2 jalapenos for added nutrients and flavor this week. You can't go wrong with a big, huge bag of carrots. I have no idea what I'm going to be using these carrots for, but I'm getting them, and I'm sure I'll find some use for them. And then Roma tomatoes are pretty inexpensive per pound, so I'll just pick up one of those. Here's all of my groceries with the prices that will hopefully get me through. I have my bag of flour, 5 pounds of russet potatoes, 3 bananas. I have my 1-pound bag of lentils along with my 1-pound bag of pinto beans, my carrots, tomato, and then I have my apples and cinnamon oatmeal. I'm really excited about this oatmeal, and I'm super excited that there's already like cinnamon and apples in it. Next, I have my bag of rice along with my 2 jalapenos. Then I have my yellow onion and 2 apples. I'm very excited about this. Let's get home and let's get to cooking and let's see what we create. I just got back from the store and I am going to be starting on breakfast soon, but I do want to prepare my pinto beans. I'm going to be making these pinto beans for dinner tonight in a recipe, and I want to prepare them now just so they can be ready for this evening. So I'm just starting out. I have my 1-pound bag of pinto beans. I'm going to be batch making these pinto beans, so I'm making them all in one batch for this week. It's just easier to cook like a large batch of pinto beans together other than like, you know, making a cup here and there, because they do need to simmer for a while. But I'm just rinsing my pinto beans right now. I'm going to remove any like broken beans, kind of like this. I like to rinse my pinto beans like this just because it removes any debris that might be on the beans, just because, you know, the way that beans are grown. I'm going to let my beans soak in water for a couple of hours. You might be asking yourself or wondering, why let my beans soak? So you, of course, do not have to let your beans soak at all. I don't always let my beans soak. Sometimes I simply don't have time, and that's totally fine. But the reason why I do like to let my beans soak is because it makes the beans like super pillowy soft in the end. It significantly reduces the cooking time down. Plus it really aids in digestion and gas. So if you're worried about gas with beans, I definitely recommend soaking them. It really helps. That's why I like to soak my beans. Let's go get started on breakfast. I'm hungry. For breakfast, day 1, I am doing a packet of oatmeal. I actually might be doing 2 packets today because there are 10 packets in this oatmeal pouch container thing. So I think I will be doing 2 packets today since I do have enough. And then I will be doing a banana with my 2 packets of oatmeal since I am on the hungrier side right now. So I'll be doing these 2 packets of oatmeal with 1 banana. I'll be doing this for breakfast 1 through 3. I kind of came to the conclusion about since I do have enough to do 2 packets of oatmeal for 3 days because I'm doing 7 days total, so there's 10 packets, so I have 3 extra if I did 1 packet a day. So I'll be doing for breakfast days 1 through 3, 2 packets of oatmeal and then 1 banana. Let's go put some water in this and let's get this oatmeal cooked up. I'm quite surprised 2 packets of oatmeal made for so much oatmeal. I definitely don't think I'm going to be trying to snack in between these 2 meals since I didn't add snacks into my budget for this week. I do not have snacks to snack on, but like I said, these 2 packets of oatmeal made for so much oatmeal, and then the banana on the side adds some nice fruit for nutrients, and then the oatmeal has protein, and like I said, it's very filling. So I'm very excited for this filling, nutrient-rich breakfast. I don't think I'm going to be thinking that I need snacks in between breakfast and lunch today, which I'm very excited about. Right now we are in between breakfast and lunch, and I thought, what would go so good with lunch? Rustic warm bread. So we are getting started on this rustic bread recipe. I actually used to make it when my husband and I were first married and we were barely making ends meet. So it's a great bread recipe because it doesn't have any yeast in it, and I know yeast could be very pricey at the grocery store. So this is just a very affordable bread recipe. It is 2 cups of all-purpose flour. It's just the flour that we grabbed from the store, and then a little bit of salt and sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of each of those. Then 2 teaspoons of baking powder. You're going to whisk these dry ingredients all together. Like I said, this is such an easy bread recipe. It is great if you are on a budget because it doesn't have any crazy ingredients in it. Also, you don't have to let it rise for hours. So it really is wonderful. After you whisk those dry ingredients together, add in 3/4 cup of warm water. Just whisk it until it kind of forms a dough. It will take a couple of minutes. Now that it kind of looks like this, I'm going to work it together with my hands a little bit. And then once it is no longer sticky and everything is combined, I am going to knead it on my countertop for about 3 to 5 minutes. You could always make a double batch of this bread. I'm just doing 1 loaf today, but like I said, you could do a double batch if you would like. Now that I've been kneading my bread for about 3 to 5 minutes, I'm just going to form it into a rectangle shape, and then I'm going to score the top of it just with a knife, kind of just like this, and then I'm placing it onto my sheet pan. I'll be baking this in my preheated oven to 425 degrees for about 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I'm going to lower the temperature to 350 and I'll bake it for an additional 10 minutes. I'm getting started on lunch right now. I'm actually going to batch prep this rice as well. My husband's actually at the library with my little ones, so I have a little extra time to kind of like batch cook things. So I'm batch cooking this rice. I'm just rinsing it right now. Same with the pinto beans, just getting any debris off, making sure it's super clean. Now let's go throw this rice in my Instant Pot. I'll just toss my rice right in my Instant Pot. Then I'm also going to add in about 3 cups of water. You could add in any seasonings you like Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, but I'm just keeping it simple for today. Plus, I really do love you guys like biscuits love gravy. I'm just going to press the rice button and it is just going to cook itself. You could also cook this rice in like a pot on the stove or however you choose to do so. I like using my Instant Pot just because it's kind of fail-proof to cook rice. So let's get that going, and then I'm going to get started on lunch. I haven't snacked in between breakfast and lunch, which I'm excited about, but I'm definitely hungry for lunch. For lunch today, we're making a carrot, rice, lentil skillet. I have not made this before, but I'm quite excited about it. I kind of just came up with it and it sounds really good. Kind of like peel the outside layer off of them, and then I'm going to cut them into smaller pieces. I'm also going to dice up about 1/4 of my jalapeno. It will add great flavor and different nutrients like vitamin C. And then I'm also going to be using 1/4 of my yellow onion, and I'm going to dice it up. I'm not using my whole yellow onion just because I want my yellow onion for other recipes as well. I'm just adding in my oil now, and then to the hot oil, I'm adding in my carrots, onion, and jalapeno. I have some oil on hand, but if you don't have oil on hand, you could always use like butter, other types of oil, or you could use water to saute your veggies. I've sauteed my veggies a few times on my channel in water and it really works out super duper well, but I'll let these veggies cook for about 6 minutes on my stove. I just measured out about 3/4 cup of lentils. I have plenty more lentils in my bag to do other things with, but now I'm just going to add my lentils into this mesh strainer, and I'm going to rinse my lentils kind of like how I did with the rice and the pinto beans. You want to look through your lentils. You want to look for like any broken lentils or, you know, anything like that, but just give them a good rinse just because they are grown in the ground. To my softened veggies, I'm adding in my lentils. Next, I'm adding in my 3 cups of water. Then I'm going to toss in my seasonings. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. You could go ahead and use any seasonings that you like or have on hand, but these seasonings are fairly affordable. Don't mind me with my whole container of salt. Just because I'm fancy like this, you know. Anyway, add in some pepper and then garlic powder and onion powder. And then I'm going to let this simmer on my stove for about 20 minutes. Here is what the rice is looking like out of the Instant Pot now. As you could see, it is looking nice and fluffy. I only need about a 1.25 cups for my lunch today, so I'll only be using about this much since my lunch does have lentils in it. Lentils are super high in protein and they're also super filling. So with the rest of this rice, I'm going to store it in a container and I'll keep it in my fridge. It lasts in the fridge up to 4 days, and then whatever I don't eat or I use in 4 days, I'll just stick it in my freezer. And rice actually is great in the freezer. And then whenever I freeze it, I just like to add a little bit of water with the rice, and then it reheats wonderfully. There you go. I'll be using this now, and I'll be saving this in my fridge / freezer for this next week. Don't know what I'll make with it yet, but hope it'll make some yummy meals. My little ones are just getting back from library story time with my husband right now, but here's what my lunch is looking like for today. My lentils are still cooking. I really like my lentils to be super soft, like pillowy soft on the inside. As you see, they're kind of still hard. So I like to almost overcook my lentils. That's the way I like them to be, but just make sure you stir it every once in a while it is simmering. Now that my lentils are pretty tender, I'm just going to stir in my cooked white rice. I'll just give it a good stir, let it absorb any excess like moisture. Lentils are my favorite substitute for meat just because they're so high in protein, they're high in different nutrients, they're high in iron. Also, to go along with the lunch for today, I am going to be serving it with a couple slices of the bread. I don't know if I'll eat both slices, but I'm going to serve it with both slices and I'll see how much I eat. So this is just a ton of food. So I'm thinking this is going to be like 3 different days of lunches for me. This also has nutrients from the carrots and all the different seasonings, jalapeno and onion. So this is a great nutrient-rich lunch. That was actually really easy to make. So I'm excited about lunch today. Like I said, I think this is going to get me lunches days 2 and 3, but I will let you know in the next couple days. It is about 12 o'clock right now and my beans have been soaking just for a little while. As you see, they don't look like regular dry beans anymore. They're kind of like they've expanded slightly. So I'm just putting them in my Instant Pot just so I could get them cooking for my dinner tonight. So I added them in my Instant Pot and I'm going to add a bunch of water just because you want those beans to be covered pretty high in the water just because they expand so much. And if you're not going to be watching your beans all day in the slow cooker, was I saying Instant Pot? If I was saying Instant Pot, I mean slow cooker, but if you're not going to be watching your beans all day in the slow cooker, you want to make sure the water is like to the top just so your beans can expand and grow. But I just added in some chili pepper, basil, and then I'm going to add in paprika and oregano. These seasonings are super duper good with beans. These are pretty simple seasonings and they're pretty affordable containers as well. I'm covering this with the lid and I'm going to cook it on high for about 5 to 6 hours and I'll see how the beans are looking at that point. It is now about 5 o'clock and I'm getting started on dinner. I am making these lentil potato pinto bean burritos. They are absolutely amazing and I'm making them with homemade flour tortillas. I have made these flour tortillas on my channel in the past and they were just a huge hit. I haven't made them in years though, so we're making them right now. I just added to my 2/3 cup of water about a teaspoon of salt, and now into this bowl I am going to add in about 2 cups of our all-purpose flour, and then I'm going to add in 5 tablespoons of olive oil. I'll mix the olive oil in with the flour just until it gets kind of crumbly and combined. I really love these flour tortillas just because they are a super affordable, easy flour tortilla recipe to make. Like I said, I've been making them for years. You don't need any like wild ingredients. A lot of these ingredients are pantry staples that you might already have on hand. So great flour tortilla recipe. I just added in my 2/3 cup of water. This is warm water. You want to make sure you add in. You just kind of want to stir this together until it gets well combined and it is kind of like a ball. I noticed that mine's a little bit sticky, so I'm adding in slightly more flour. You just don't want it to be too sticky. You kind of want it to be like elasticy and hold its shape. Now that my dough kind of looks like this, it's like a little bit elasticy, I'm going to just flour my surface, and then I am going to knead the dough on my surface for about 4 minutes. After I'm finished kneading my dough, I'm just going to place it back into this bowl that I mixed it in, and I'm going to place a warm towel over the top of it. Or if you don't have a warm towel, you could just place a normal towel over the top of it and let it kind of sit and rest for about 20 minutes. We're getting started on the pinto bean burrito filling now. So I just cut up about 4 russet potatoes from our bag. I peeled them and I diced them. I just also checked over at the pinto beans and they are like so pillowy soft, so I'm so glad those pinto beans cooked nicely today. I just added those cut up potatoes into my bowl along with about 1/4 cup of lentils. Those lentils are just going to add a lot to these burritos. And then I added in about 5 cups of water. You're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes or until those lentils are tender. Here's what my pinto beans are looking like after simmering all day in my slow cooker. I'm going to remove about 2 cups of the pinto beans for tonight's dinner, my lentil potato pinto bean burritos. And then I'm going to save the rest of the pinto beans for future meals I decide to make this week, but I really think cooking the pinto beans in the slow cooker like this, it's just the best way to cook pinto beans. They just come out perfectly cooked every time. I just love cooking them in my slow cooker like this, but I'll add the rest of my pinto beans into this large bowl. I don't have like a Tupperware container big enough to fit all of these beans plus some of the juice, so this big bowl should work. Also, I do want to let you know, when you are storing your pinto beans in a large container, you're batch cooking them like this, make sure you do add in about 1 cup of the broth that the pinto beans are cooking in, just so your pinto beans don't dry out. So that's just for best results. I learned that when my husband and I were eating pinto beans like every single week. We were making pinto bean burritos, we were making everything with pinto beans because that's basically all we could afford for a long time period there. The time is basically up for letting my dough rest for my tortillas. So I'm going to flour my surface just slightly, and then I'm going to divide my dough into about 10 balls. So you want to make about 10 tortillas. That's kind of the goal with this amount of dough. You could always double this recipe or half it, but this is kind of what I'm aiming for, is 10 tortillas. And then roll them out super thin. I always say the thinner the better, just because they do kind of bubble up while they are cooking. So roll them out super thin. Once you have your tortillas super thin like this, you're going to bring them over to a hot pan on the stove and cook them for about 1 minute or 2 on each side, or until they're golden brown and cooked. Whenever we want something with like tortillas or wraps and we don't have tortillas or wraps on hand, I actually make these homemade tortillas just because you don't have to let them rise all day. You don't even have to let them rise an hour. Just 20 minutes makes for the most perfect tortillas. So if you are looking to make some homemade tortillas on a budget, love this recipe. Tortillas can also be pretty expensive at the store, so these homemade ones are really amazing. I still have my tortillas cooking off to the side, but now that my lentils and potatoes are tender, I'm just going to strain the liquid out of this. I'm not going to show you me straining it though, just because to say that my sink is overflowing with dishes is kind of an understatement. To the same pot, add in those cooked pinto beans. Then you're going to want to season this up just so it's not bland. Nobody likes bland food. I'm using salt and pepper. I'm also going to be doing some paprika And then I'll be doing a slight bit of Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, and cumin. Can't forget about my onion. I'm adding in a small amount of diced onion, and then you're going to let this cook together for about 5-6 more minutes. You kind of want everything to heat through. You want that onion to slightly cook. Funny story about these burritos. A little while ago, a few weeks ago, they actually went kind of like small scale viral. Thank you guys for making my lentil burritos semi-small scale viral. I really appreciate it. I made them on my channel a couple months ago, and a lot of you guys have been liking these burritos. So thank you so much for the support. It really does mean a lot to me and my family when you share my videos and you like them. The potato, lentil, and bean mixture is through simmering. I know it doesn't look amazing right now, but let me tell you, it smells so good. It smells really delicious. And here are the tortillas. After I cooked all of them, I actually covered them with a towel just so they could stay, so you could still, you know, kind of like wrap them up. But I'm going to fill these tortillas up. I'm only going to fill up a couple of them for tonight. I'm only going to be using a couple tonight. I'll be using the rest of these tortillas either throughout my week or in the next couple days, depending on what I feel like I'm going to be eating for dinner. But this is about how much I'm going to eat for tonight. I am feeling pretty hungry right now, but this is a lot of food. Also, I'm going to be topping it with a little bit of diced tomato and jalapeno for added freshness and nutrients. After I would fill my tortillas, typically I would heat the tortilla up on the outside of the tortilla on the stove again with like normal basic flour tortillas that I would buy at the store. But since these are homemade tortillas and they're already crisped on the outside, I am just going to eat it like this. I do not need to reheat these tortillas again on the stove. They're cooked to perfection, delicious, and I am so excited about dinner tonight. Also, if I'm looking a little bit more tired than earlier, I am. I was running outside with my little ones for a while and I was sweating quite a bit, to say the least. So this dinner is so high in protein from those beans, lentils, and then the potatoes are a great affordable filler. I'm really pleased with dinner tonight. I do not feel like I'm eating on an extreme budget right now. To store the tortillas I didn't eat tonight, I'm going to keep them in a Ziploc bag just in my fridge. You could of course batch prep these so you could fill these tortillas up with the filling tonight, but I'm just going to keep them in a bag and I'll fill them up. For future meals, I don't know if I'm going to be filling like burrito bowls with this or what, so that's why I'm not filling it up for today. I'm just going to put this in the fridge. I know it doesn't look like much, but you gotta trust me, this filling is so good. Here's what breakfast is looking like for day 2. I did 2 packets of our apple cinnamon oatmeal. I just mixed the oatmeal with water and I microwaved it. Then I topped the oatmeal with a half of a diced apple. So I just used half of one of my apples, diced it up, and then I'm saving the other half of apple just in a container. And then to prevent the apple from browning, I'm adding in some water. If you don't have citrus to add onto your apple, I definitely recommend using water. Water really helps save apples from browning. But I am just going to eat this, and at this point I'm actually feeling really good. I don't feel any different from like what I normally eat. The only thing is I'm not feeling hungry in between meals. These meals have been pretty heavy. They're really high in protein and different nutrients, so I'm not feeling like I need to snack in between breakfast and lunch and dinner. But I will see how today goes and the rest of this week. I'm really curious to see how I will be feeling by day 4. Lunch day 2, I am eating some more of my lentil, carrot, and rice skillet that I made yesterday. I'm not eating all of the leftovers, I'm just eating about half of the leftovers, so not all of it. I'll be saving the other half for like lunch tomorrow or really whenever I want to eat it. But I'm also serving it with a slice of rustic bread on the side. This smells so good. I actually took a bite out of it and it tastes just as good as it did yesterday. I know not all leftovers reheat well, but this certainly does. Also, it's hailing outside, so if you hear a noise, it's like snow hailing. But anyway, I'm excited to eat this and I will see you at dinner time tonight. It is a little after 7 p.m. right now, so I'm getting a later start on dinner than I would normally like to, but you know what? That is okay because I batch cooked so much yesterday, so I'm not needing to like make a full meal for myself right now because I batch cooked so much yesterday. All I did was I heated up my tortilla for about a minute in the microwave, and I heated up a portion of my lentil, pinto bean, and potato filling in the microwave. I heated that up for about 2 minutes, and then I'm just topping this with some of my onion, tomato, and jalapeno. I'm just topping it with that just for added freshness, and then there you go. That took me like 3 minutes to throw together. I have so much of this left, and I'm excited about that. It's not like I'm scraping the bowl clean right now. There's a ton left, so if I want another burrito or like kind of like a burrito bowl tonight, I can. I don't have to limit myself right now, so that is wonderful, but I'm going to sit down and eat this. I'm now on breakfast for day 3, and I'm having 2 packets of oatmeal again. I just cooked it in water. I just added 1 of my bananas on top of the oatmeal. I no longer have enough oatmeal to do 2 packets a day. So for the next days, I'm no longer going to be doing 2 packets of oatmeal a day. I'll just be doing 1, but I'm about to eat my breakfast now. It is about 12:30 right now. I'm eating lunch a little bit later than I normally do, but I'm about to heat up the rest of my lentil rice and carrot skillet right now in my microwave. I'm just going to heat it up like this in my storage container because I'm going to be eating all of this for lunch right now. I'm also going to be serving it alongside a slice of my rustic bread. For dinner tonight, I am just eating some of the potato, lentil, and pinto bean filling. I'm not doing it with a burrito. I'm just doing it kind of like as a burrito bowl. I am also topping it with some slices of tomato. I'm not doing the jalapeno or onion. I'm thinking I want to save the rest of the jalapeno and onion for something else, but this is what I'm having for dinner tonight. I do have some left just in case I want to snack on it throughout the week or something, but I have some left. But here is what dinner is looking like. I know it doesn't look gorgeous, but it truly is so good. It is so bold in flavor. You could add any seasonings to it, like I said before, but I'm gonna go eat this. It's delicious. I am now on breakfast day 4. Since I ran out of doing 2 little packets of oatmeal each day yesterday, I am doing 1 packet of oatmeal today. I have my oatmeal here. I am just going to put the other half of the apple over the top for breakfast today. I do still have 1 apple left. I'm thinking I will either have it for a snack or the rest of the days for breakfast. Also, I do want to mention yesterday I ate the last banana. I was making banana muffins for my little ones and I didn't have enough bananas. So I used the last banana for the banana chocolate chip muffins, and I did have one of these yesterday, but I only ate 1, and besides this I didn't snack on anything else. So I had 1 banana chocolate chip muffin yesterday that I made for my little ones, and then I did eat the last banana because I made it in the banana chocolate chip muffin. So I don't have any more bananas left, and I made these muffins for my little ones. I'm getting started on lunch for today. I am making a potato lentil curry, and I am just overly excited about it. I just started out by measuring out the last of my lentils. I have about 1.5 cups of lentils left, and I'm just going to go ahead and rinse them. Now I am going to cut up my vegetables. So I'm going to start with my potatoes. There's about 5 of them. This one's huge, and I still have 3 potatoes left in my bag. I'll probably also dice up 1/4 more of my onion, and as you see, I have quite a few carrots left. I have about 8 small to medium-sized carrots here. I'll dice those up, and then I have 3 carrots left in my bag. Over to this large pot on my stove. It's on about medium-high heat. I added in a tablespoon of olive oil. Now I'm going to add in my diced onion and carrots. I'm not going to add the potatoes in right now, or at least I'm going to try not to add them in. A couple of them might fall in, but I'll add the potatoes in just a little bit. I really want those carrots and the onion to kind of saute and cook together. It's going to give them a lot of delicious added flavor. Now that my veggies are finished sauteing, I'm adding in about 2 teaspoons of curry powder. I'm also going to be adding in a teaspoon of garlic powder and onion powder. Next, I'm adding in 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. The cumin adds a pop of flavor. That curry smells so good right now. You also want to add in about 1 teaspoon of salt. It's not going to be too salty just because there's going to be so much food in this. The potatoes are going to absorb some of that salt. Same with the lentils, and it's just going to be super flavorful in the end. Now I'm going to add in basically the rest of my ingredients. So I'm adding in 4 cups of water. Then I'm adding in my rinsed lentils. These are the last of the lentils that I have. Next, I diced up the last of my Roma tomato and I'm adding that in there. I'm also tossing in my potatoes. Now I'm going to give this a good stir and I'm going to let it simmer on my stove for about 20 minutes, mainly to cook those lentils and the potatoes. You want the lentils to be super soft in the end. This curry has been simmering for about 15 minutes so far and it is smelling so good. It smells like normal curry. It smells amazing. If you do notice the lentils need a little bit more water to cook in, just add about a half to 1 more cup of water at a time until those lentils are cooked. I'm going to let this cook for just about, I'd say 5-10 more minutes until those lentils get to the softness that I like them to be. While my curry finishes cooking on the stove, I am going to heat up my rice. I haven't used any of my rice that I cooked up in the beginning of the week since I cooked it up, so I am going to heat some up today. Since today is day 4 with the rice, I am going to freeze the rest of my rice. Rice lasts in the fridge for up to about 4 days, so I'll freeze this and then it is going to stay super well in the freezer for however long I really want it to be in my freezer, you know, whenever I make the next meals. Also, to go along with my rice heating up, I do have more tortillas that I batch cooked in the first of the week, so I am also going to be heating up a tortilla on the side. I thought that sounded really super good, so I'm going to microwave these two, and my curry's gonna finish cooking up right now. Here's what my curry's looking like, all plated up in this bowl. I have the rice on the bottom so you could barely see it, and then I have the tortilla. The tortilla is kind of going to act as like naan bread. This is smelling amazing. Also, I do want to let you know, if you want to add to this curry and you have some like tomato sauce on hand, tomato paste, you could always add in tomato sauce or tomato paste. You could add in coconut milk, you could add in heavy cream, you could add in bell peppers, cilantro. You could really add to this curry, but this is a great base for like a really affordable, inexpensive curry on a budget that still tastes delicious. So you could always add to this curry, but this is a wonderful base. Like I was saying, this lunch is absolutely out of this world delicious, and I have so much left over, so I'm really excited. I'm going to be eating this. I'm thinking maybe for lunch tomorrow, but not 100% sure yet. I'll check back with you at dinner time tonight. I basically ate everything but not all of the tortilla. Tortilla was super good, but loved the lentil curry the best. That was amazing. It is about 5:30 right now and I'm getting started on dinner. For dinner tonight, we are making pinto bean potato burritos. So I'm going to get started on my potatoes first. To my cutting board, I have about 3 potatoes left, so I'm going to peel those and I'm going to dice them up. I also have about 3 carrots left in my bag, so I'm also going to dice those carrots up. And I have a little bit of my yellow onion left, so I'll go ahead and dice that onion up too. Now for my potato lentil burrito filling, to a pan on the stove, add in your potatoes, carrots, and onion. I didn't use all of my onion. I still have some fresh onion left I could top with, you know, some of the rest of my meals. But just add these veggies right in here. Then you're going to want to add in water. You want to kind of like boil and soften the potatoes and the carrots. Also, if you are wondering what my little ones and Will have been eating this week, they are just eating what they would normally eat throughout the week. This is eating off of $12 for an entire week for myself, so for one person, and I do want to let you know how it's been going. So I was kind of curious how I'd be feeling by day 4, which is today, and I am feeling great. I feel like I'm getting enough protein. I feel like I'm getting enough nutrients. I've been sticking to my meal plan really, really well. I'm excited to see how the rest of this week goes, and I'm really hoping that I'm able to have enough food to get me through day 7. That is my goal at this point, but I'm excited for dinner tonight. You have to trust me at this point. I know this isn't looking like much yet, but once your potatoes, carrots, and the onion are kind of like fork tender, go ahead and strain the water out, and then you're going to add in all of the pinto beans. So the pinto beans that we cooked up earlier this week, add them right into your pan, and then you're going to add in any seasonings that you like. Today for the seasonings, I'm doing a little bit of salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, and cumin. I really think those seasonings would work super well in this dish. Give this a stir, and since the beans, potatoes, carrots, everything's cooked through, you basically just want to heat through the beans at this point, and you want the seasonings to, make everything extra flavorful. So give this a stir, let it cook, and then you could serve this in tortillas or as like burrito bowls, really however you choose to do so. But I am just going to be serving this as a burrito bowl today. I was originally going to serve this as a burrito, but I'm kind of feeling like a burrito bowl right now. I have my tortillas right here. This one's a little cracked because this one's the first tortilla that I made, and I dried it out a little to say the least, but I have some tortillas left for this week. I have, let me see, I think 1, 2, 3. I have about 4 tortillas left, not including the cracked one, if I'm counting them right. But this is smelling so good. It has so much protein from those pinto beans. I'm really not missing meat. I was kind of thinking that I might be missing like chicken and sausage and ground beef at this point in the week, but I'm not craving meats. I know I haven't had any meats, but the meat substitutes like the lentils and the pinto beans have really been working as substituting for the meat. So I'm getting enough protein, and I'm really feeling good at this point in the week. Also, I have plenty of this left over. I'm going to let it cool down for a moment, then I'll put it in a container in my fridge to save for a future meal perhaps. Here's what breakfast is looking like for day 5. I did 1 packet of oatmeal, and I have 2 packets left for days 6 and 7. So I'm running low on oatmeal, but I'm thinking I'll have enough. I put water in my bowl with the oatmeal, microwaved it, and then I put diced apple on top. I used about a half of a diced apple. I'm saving the other half for breakfast for the next couple days, but here is what breakfast is looking like for day 5. Here's what I'm thinking lunch is going to be like today. So I'm doing lentil curry, and I do want to mention too, I have some of my frozen rice on my plate right now, but when you freeze your rice, I definitely recommend either reheat all of it all at once or portion it out into like portions in different containers, just because it is a little bit tricky to take a portion out of frozen rice because it's frozen. I totally should have thought ahead, but it's working out just fine. And then over the frozen rice, I'm going to add a couple scoops of the curry. I have so much curry left. I might see if my husband wants some for dinner tonight just to try, because he loves curry, and I'm thinking I will have plenty, but I'm just going to microwave this for a couple minutes. I did add in about a tablespoon of water before I microwaved this just to rehydrate the rice a little bit better, but I know it doesn't look like much, but seriously, it smells so good. It smells identical to like a fancy curry, and I'm excited to be eating this high protein, delicious meal for lunch today. I can't believe how affordable this is. It is dinner time, and for dinner tonight, I am having the potato, pinto bean, carrot, kind of like burrito bowl filling. So that is what I'm having. I'm just going to have it on a plate. I'm not serving it in a tortilla, just because I don't really feel like a tortilla tonight. So I'm going to microwave this for a couple of minutes, and there you go. Dinner was prepped for me. So simple. All I have to do is eat it. Breakfast day 6, I am having oatmeal again. Surprise, surprise. And then I have 1 oatmeal packet for tomorrow. I did top mine with a half of a diced apple, and then I have the other half in here just in water to keep it. But yeah, about to eat my breakfast for day 6. For lunch today, I am just having my lentil curry alongside of rice. I do still have some lentil curry in my container right here. I'm just going to go microwave this and eat this for lunch alongside of my little ones. My little ones are eating right now, so here's lunch for myself for today. For dinner tonight, I am doing the pinto bean, potato, carrot filling. This is kind of like the burrito bowl filling alongside of some steamed white rice. So very excited for dinner tonight. It really smells scrumptious. Breakfast day 7, oatmeal with apple on top. I am officially all out of oatmeal. I also do not have any more produce left, so no more apple. I ran out of banana a couple days ago, but breakfast for day 7. For dinner tonight, I am making kind of like a burrito bowl. So I have a tortilla right here. I am going to heat it up so it's no longer like, cold. And then over the tortilla, I'm going to add the last of my rice. This is just my frozen rice. And then over the rice, I am going to add my pinto bean potato kind of like burrito filling. So I'm using the last of this filling, and this got me like the perfect amount for each of the days. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to go heat this up right now. Now that I'm at the last of my week, I do want to fill you in, and I want to honestly tell you how I think things actually went this week. So at the beginning of the week, my #1 goal was to create nutrient-rich, healthy meals that would give me lots of protein to get between meal to meal and not feel like I wanted fast food or snacks in between meals. I didn't want to feel like I was just buying hot dogs from the store to, like, you know, get by on an extreme budget. I wanted to buy groceries at the store that would give me lots of fuel and kind of stick to my bones. So I felt good throughout the week, and I'm so happy to say I felt so good this week. I'm being completely honest with you guys. I didn't feel hungry in between each meal, which I'm really happy about. Once I went down to 1 oatmeal a day, I did feel a little bit hungry in between breakfast and lunch, but once I had my lunches, the lunches were so filling. It got me right through to dinner time, which I'm so excited about. I do have some items left that I didn't quite finish throughout this week, but I'm so happy that I was able to get through this week off of just $12. I know grocery prices have just been so high recently, but I felt like I got the nutrients that I needed and wanted. Of course, a couple more apples, bananas, you know, some peas, broccoli here and there would be nice, but for this extreme budget, I feel like we did a good job this week. Thanks for being here today, and thanks for watching this video. I'd really love to have you. So make sure you're subscribed down below the video, and I'm about to go eat my dinner before it gets cold. Bye for now.